Everything that I share with people, I usually learned through trial and error, not because I had all this great wisdom, but because we had to try different things in our family.
I want to talk about language arts today. And then throughout the rest of the week, we're going to talk a little bit about history. We're going to talk about teaching multiple ages together. But I want to kind of park with language arts and reading and what that looks like in homeschooling, because I think I was actually just talking with my daughter this morning about this. We're looking forward to the next year, and we're talking about what that's going to look like for us. And I said, one of the most important things is for you to be a good writer. Like, just as a functioning adult, you have to know how to write well. And one of the ways that you learn to write well is that you read good literature. So talk about language arts for a little bit, and let's bring some encouragement as moms are planning for this next year.
Sure. Well, like you said, it's so important for anyone, no matter what field or not that they're going to go into when they graduate, to be a communicator. Because even as a mom, if your daughters grow up to be stay-at-home moms, they still need to be able to communicate well, to advocate for their family, for their children, to spread the gospel. There's so many reasons to communicate well. And I always tell people, if you just read Facebook posts, you'll see how sadly unprepared people are just to communicate. And so if you read a post on Facebook that has no punctuation or awful grammar, you can see how unpleasant it is to try to make your way through that. And if you've got something important to say, you don't want to come across that way. It is so important to be an excellent communicator. And writing is preparation for communication in all forms. And like you said, reading is what prepares you for that. And so I absolutely recommend getting your kids reading and writing. And there's a very simple way to do both. And this I learned the hard way. Everything that I share with people, I usually learned through trial and error, not because I had all this great wisdom, but because we had to try different things in our family.
Yeah.
And so I have learned over many years of homeschooling my kids that reading lays a solid foundation in language arts. And piggybacked on top of that is the ability to write. And you don't even have to be a great writer yourself to help your kids do this. And I know so many parents worry, well, I didn't get a great education, or I was awful at this subject or that one. But let me just tell you, it doesn't matter, because the resources available to us now are just so amazing. But you don't even need a lot of resources for this. You need some books, and you need some paper and a pencil. And so the first thing I recommend is read lots of books. Read them together. Have your children read them on their own as soon as they're able. Be patient as they work their way up through harder levels. I've had kids learn to read all across the age spectrum from 5 to 9 years old. So don't panic if they're slower to pick up reading. Just keep moving forward and it will happen. So far, I have never met anyone who just never learned how to read.
Yeah.
It's just that some kids take longer than others. So keep reading. Read aloud to your kids, even if they're teenagers. We still do this in our house. We still have a morning time where I read aloud to them, because usually it's a historical fiction or something that we're studying. All of my kids listen to audiobooks. So that's a great way to get some more reading in, whether it's at bedtime or on road trips, or if you don't feel like reading aloud, play out an audiobook for the whole family. And then, like I said, encourage your kids to read on their own at whatever level they can. What this does is helps them to hear and see the English language and to use it often. They learn words in context. They see proper grammar being used. They see correct spelling being used. And they're able to see and hear all kinds of language, whether it's just straightforward nonfiction, or if you're reading a fictional tale, you get to get into character with different people and see how different people, different ages, different times in history, all different sorts of language happens. And it just broadens their horizons so much. And so the second thing that I encourage, and again, this is something you can do for free, is to copy a lot of words. And we call that copy work in homeschooling. But it is exactly like it sounds. It's just copying anything down. Usually you want to copy something worthwhile, but as long as it's correct grammar and spelling, and it's got some interesting vocabulary, anything goes. Anything goes. So you can have your kids use a spiral notebook and a pencil and copy down words from a book they're reading, maybe a paragraph from The Hobbit or something from a nonfiction science book that they're enjoying. You can have them copy scripture. This is a great way to memorize, by the way, to memorize scripture is to copy it repetitively. I have a friend that told me that this whole year, this was their first year homeschooling, and they had followed my advice to try copy work, and they copied jokes all year. So it was a fun little thing, but while they were having fun with the jokes, they were still practicing all of the different parts of language arts. Like I said, science books, history, poetry. A great speech from history is a wonderful thing. Man, we've loved copying down some Winston Churchill speeches, even family history or song lyrics. So whatever is interesting is worth copying down. And if you have a very young child, let them do one sentence a day. If you have teenagers, give them a paragraph or two a day. This can be a great way to practice print or cursive or typing. I have a son who's obsessed with typing, so he types his copy work. But what this allows them to do when you put together reading lots of books and copying lots of words, gives them the ability to see and use spelling, grammar, vocabulary, punctuation, and all of it in context. So often we have worksheets and, curriculum that gives them lots of exercises, but it's no matter how hard the curriculum tries, it's often hard for them to see it used in context, in normal life. And so reading the words and then copying the words just brings it all together. And if you use content that they're interested in, it's even more relevant to them.
Homeschool Insights is sponsored by CTC Math. If you're looking for a great online math program, visit ctcmath.com and try it for free. For more great homeschool inspiration and resources, listen to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.